Yo, greetings and good vibes, everyone. Welcome back to T. I am your guy, John Tell. Pinkies up, y'all. Pinkies up. I am joined by Meg. I don't know where she went, but she should be back at some point. Currently, it is just me at the moment. Also, shout out to the guest that we have on with us today. Matt, thank you for joining us.
What up, yo?
What up? And we've got one of our other comrades tuning in as well, Dave Moon TV. Thank you for being with us as well. So I've got some stories via Democracy Now! If you saw on the screen just a second ago, that I do want to go through and talk about. And then also, Matt is here to shed some light on some stories and some news that is going on out of New England as well. But I'm going to go ahead and see what is going on over in, I believe this is Ethiopia. No, it's Haiti.
And says over $2 billion in aid is needed to help fight the catastrophic effects of the ongoing drought as the region appears to be in the throes of its fifth consecutive failed rainy season. Situation spurred a mass displacement crisis. This is Fahad Hussein, a displaced Somali mother and street vendor.
I
had fled from drought from Bulamarer town of Lower Shabelle region. I have 5 children. I had 7 children. 2 died while they were babies because of thirst and hunger of the drought. And we fled from locusts and wars. Now we are in these IDP camps and still need support.
In Ukraine, Russia is warning the battle for Kherson is imminent and says it will evacuate some 60,000 people in the coming days. Ukrainian forces have recently driven back Russian fighters in the occupied city. Elsewhere, Russian strikes have cut power to over 1,000 towns and villages across Ukraine as residents face the prospect of a winter without heat. The UN Security Council is set to discuss today the issue of Iranian drones being used in Moscow's assault on Ukraine. Iran has recently agreed to provide Russia with more drones and surface-to-surface missiles. Meanwhile, Lockheed Martin says it will up its production of HIMARS long-range rocket artillery systems, which the U.S. has been providing to Ukraine.
And for a second, real quick, that reminds me that, we can't forget about like the stuff that's going on in Iran, and why.
Did they just say?
Yep.
Did they just say that Iran gave like the
Yeah,
materials to Russia for weapons?
is the consensus, although they're basically saying that it hasn't been proven, but that all the Western, quote unquote, Western forces are presuming that, yes. But Iran is flat out denying it.
That's so fucked up, dude. That just shows that all governments fund money for wars. All of them.
Exactly. Yes. And yes, Tammy, working class around the world unite. We gotta end this death dealing system. And that's so oh my god, that's a perfect phrase for it. This is a death dealing system. It's so true.
On Wednesday, officials in Denmark confirmed powerful explosions caused the Nord Stream 1 and 2 gas pipelines to leak in the Baltic Sea last month, though did not specify the origin of the blasts. Here in the United States, President Biden's announcing the release of another 15 million barrels of fuel from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. The move seeks to ease prices at the gas pump amidst the ongoing war and 3 weeks ahead of the midterm elections. On Tuesday, President Biden vowed to enshrine access to abortion into law if Democrats expand their narrow majorities in Congress in the upcoming midterm elections.
Here's the promise I make to you and the American people. The first bill that I will send to the Congress will be to codify Roe v. Wade. And when Congress passes it, I'll sign it in January, 50 years after Roe was first decided the law of the land.
President Biden made the remarks yesterday at a Democratic National Committee event in Washington, D.C., as many Democratic candidates hope to harness public outrage over the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade. Senator Bernie Sanders has warned Democrats against focusing solely on abortion rights while neglecting to address the economy, health care, and inequality. In Florida, Republican Senator Marco Rubio and Democratic challenger Congressmember Val Demings faced off in their only debate ahead of November's election. The candidates sparred over abortion, voting rights, foreign policy, and guns, with Demings going after Rubio for his inaction on gun control.
How long will you watch people being gunned down in first grade, fourth grade, high school, college, church, synagogue, a grocery store, a movie theater, a mall, and a nightclub, and do nothing?
In Florida, the Tampa Bay Times has obtained video showing police officers arresting people for voting.
Now, hold on. This is what I wanted to talk about, and this is what I wanted to get to. This is horrible. This is baiting, and this is the example of what I want to talk about as to why this is so problematic. The system of them, really doing everything that they can, especially Republicans, but in Florida especially, criminalizing people and really hammering away at preventing letting blacks vote, and chipping away at what rights we do have to vote. So really pay attention to this. Oh, wow. Roger Payton, you're so right. When are Dems going to care about police brutality and racism again like they did in 2020? Or was that just a trend? Facts. Yes, shame. Shame.
In 2018, Florida overwhelmingly voted in favor of a ballot measure allowing formerly incarcerated people with past felony convictions to cast ballots. But the law excludes residents who are convicted of murder or felony sex offenses. The arrested individuals say they were encouraged to vote by Florida officials and were not made aware of this exclusion, which is not stated on voter registration forms. This is Tampa resident Tony Patterson, and his arresting officer is captured on a police body cam.
Apparently, I guess you have a warrant?
For what?
I'm not sure.
For voter stuff, man.
For voters.
It's what it is. I think the agents with FDLE talked to you last week about some voter fraud, voter stuff, when you weren't supposed to be voting, maybe.
This shit crazy, man. Y'all put me in jail for something I didn't know nothing about. Why would y'all let me vote if I wasn't able to vote?
The arrests and the body cam footage are from August 18th and come under the auspices of Republican Governor Ron DeSantis' recently formed Office of Election Crimes and Security. Of the 19 people arrested that day, 12.
This gives me vibes of Iran with their so-called morality police. Just saying, like, this is very
That's all targeted too. That's all targeted too, because you never see that happen to white people.
100%.
Especially white felons. Like I can't see it happening to white felons.
And you know, some states they let you vote even if you are a felon after so many years.
Right. And I bet you these are all Democrats too. Just saying. I'm really curious to see what's going to come of this. Probably nothing, being that DeSantis is like. What do y'all think about DeSantis and running for 2024?
I think that he should get down or lay down. It's going to be
I
one
think I want to vomit. I think I want to vomit just in those words.
Oh yeah. Talk about it. But I mean, it's a reality, you know. And yes, white Christian nationalism is on the rise, which is
yes, it's everywhere.
It's helping to feed these ideologies and reasonings behind
But
things.
The thing is, Christian nationalism has always been on a rise, and I don't know how many people know this, but Washington, D.C. is like the base of Christo-fascism.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
that. There's a great documentary you should watch if you guys have Netflix. It's called The Family, and it's about like a religious, powerful, rich family up in Washington, D.C. that's controlled that building with their ideology for almost like 50 years. And they've taken their ideologies of God as control and not God as love, God as control, and spread that throughout the earth. So basically that's how all these other countries have the idea that they can use God to control.
That's crazy. I hate whenever somebody talks about like they try to justify their ideology and you know, they justify, well, what would Jesus do? Well, the shortest verse in the Bible is, well, it's Jesus wept, but one of the shortest verses is God is love.
Do me a favor, John Tell, if you can. Pull up a web page on like the documentary, like just Google The Family Netflix documentary and see if you can pull up a trailer.
Yeah.
Because I want people to see this. This is important stuff.
And what's it called?
The Family, Netflix. You'd be surprised at what they talk about.
Got you. 1 second, I got it.
Yeah, this is so screwed. Like, you really have to see how deep this goes. It's not just something that just recently came out. This is
stumbled my way. And what I found is a secretive Christian organization called The Family that had been hiding in plain sight for over 80 years.
This was a group with tentacles around the world.
A humble example of leadership that the world has never seen.
A breathtaking enmeshment of church and state.
There were congressmen, senators.
I did hear about this and forgot all about it, and I definitely need to go watch this because, you know, this is my kind of shit. But just so y'all know, like, all the American presidents are related. Just saying, go look it up.
World leaders.
And they say it's about faith, but there's a shared understanding that what we're really about here is power.
I'd like to single out Doug Coe.
Doug Coe and all of his associates. I'm grateful.
Doug Coe is the longtime leader of The Family.
He's the most powerful man in Washington you've never heard of.
He said the more invisible you can make your organization, the more influence it will have.
Jesus plus nothing. It's a powerful thing.
Using the National Prayer Breakfast, they dispatch representatives to build relationships with foreign leaders. That is exactly the kind of meeting that I would want to exploit. For The Family, Jesus says you must go to those who are in positions of power.
God always uses imperfect vessels to do his perfect work. President Trump's an imperfect vessel.
Jesus is the answer, but Jesus and Capitol Hill don't mix.
Because we want our family to stay together.
That is
And their family has stood the test of time over 80 years, kept that ideology alive of hate and control through Christianity. Yep.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
There's so many ways to pick this apart and dissect it.
That
I've literally like tried to talk about, and you know, we're slowly taking away at this very thing. I'm going to go watch that documentary and then do a webisode for it, because
Hell
that
yeah.
was really fun for me to do. Like really fun for me to do. This Democracy Now piece. There's a couple more stories I think everyone should hear, and then we will go into the stories that you shared with us, my brother. Why is this not loading? Come on.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report.
Here we go.
Okay. In the United Kingdom, the family of jailed Egyptian writer and activist Alaa Abdel Fattah has begun a sit-in in front of the British Foreign Affairs Office. Sanaa and Mona Saif are demanding the release of their brother, who's been on hunger strike in Egypt for 200 days. The U.S. has agreed to take in al-Fattah, who also recently got his British citizenship. Shadow British Foreign Secretary David Lammy joined the protest yesterday. Supporters of al-Fattah are ramping up pressure to release the human rights activists ahead of next month's COP27 climate summit in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. The African Commission on Human and People's Rights in Gambia has voted to adopt the Egyptian Civic Space Petition, which links COP27 to human rights and demands an end to human rights abuses. In Saudi Arabia, a U.S. citizen has received a 16-year jail sentence for writing tweets critical of the Saudi government. 72-year-old Saad Ibrahim Ahmadi is a dual citizen and was arrested in November after traveling from Florida to Riyadh to visit family. One of the tweets referenced slain Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi. Saad's son said his father's being held in conditions that amount to torture and has criticized the U.S. government for not doing more to free his father. The Washington Post reports at least 15 retired U.S. generals and admirals have worked as paid consultants for Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Defense since 2016. The sweeping investigation reveals hundreds of former military personnel have taken highly lucrative jobs with foreign governments accused of human rights abuses with the approval of the U.S. military. The U.S. has long sought to keep these ties hidden, but Washington Post reporters brought the matter to court, eventually obtaining 4,000 pages of documents through the Freedom of Information Act. Over 100 Haitian migrants, including pregnant people and children, were found stranded on an uninhabited island west of Puerto Rico on Tuesday. Mona Island, located midway between the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, has become a popular drop-off point for boats of migrants departing from the Dominican Republic. Smugglers often abandon migrants there, falsely telling them they've reached the main island of Puerto Rico. Haiti is facing one of its worst crises of instability and violence as gangs continue to control a major port in Port-au-Prince, triggering critical shortages of food, water, fuel, and other resources. Harsh U.S. immigration policies blocking migrants from seeking asylum in the United States have forced many to rely on smugglers and embark on extremely dangerous routes to enter the U.S. In California, the Los Angeles City Council has voted for Paul Krikorian to become the new council president following the resignation last week of disgraced.
Here we go. Listen up, y'all.
Former President Nuri Martinez, who was heard making racist remarks on a leak audio tape. Meanwhile, protests continue demanding the resignation of the two other council members who were caught on the recording, Gil Cedillo and Kevin De Leon. This is Melina Abdullah from Black Lives Matter Los Angeles speaking in front of Los Angeles City Hall.
We don't have any room for blatant anti-Black racists on LA City Council. They gotta go. They gotta go. And every other city council member that is meeting with them is co-conspiring with them and locking community out. They are just as guilty.
To see our interview with Melina Abdullah, you can go to democracynow.org. In upstate New York, Amazon workers in Albany overwhelmingly voted against forming a union with the recently established Amazon labor union. The defeat comes after months of union busting from Amazon, including intimidating workers and firing union organizers and supporters. New Jersey is suing 5 oil and gas companies and a lobbying group for lying about the harm caused by fossil fuels and its link to catastrophic climate change. A lawsuit filed Tuesday names ExxonMobil, Shell, Chevron, BP, ConocoPhillips, and the American Petroleum Institute. This is New Jersey Attorney General Matthew Platkin.
They led a decades-long disinformation campaign to confuse the public about fossil fuels and climate change, even though the scientific consensus was secure. They did this specifically to avoid a cleaner, lower carbon future, and to preserve their market for their commodities at the expense of the global environment and, frankly, at all of our expense. They also did this to stave off public opinion or government action that could have cut into their profits.
New Jersey officials say the state is ground zero for climate change. The suit comes just days ahead of the 10th anniversary of Superstorm Sandy, which killed 38 people in New Jersey and cost an estimated $65 billion damages in the U.S. The Interior Department announced it'll hold the first ever lease sale for wind energy off the coast of California in December. The development of wind energy in the area could eventually power over 1.5 million homes. Retail stores have begun selling hearing aids over the counter as the Food and Drug Administration starts rolling out a new policy allowing the sale of the hearing aids without the need for a doctor's visit or prescription. The move is aimed at making hearing aids more accessible and affordable, though over-the-counter prices still range from $200 to over $1,000.
What? And shouldn't they have always been available to everyone? Why do they cost so much? Shouldn't they be covered under insurance? I mean, I'm new to this, but what the hell? I don't know. That's just me. All right, we can go ahead and get into the other stories that you have for us, Matt.
All right.
The first one I want.
This is Democracy Now! Democracy.
Sorry. The first one I want to get into, and I will talk about this one later too. Haitians protest economic crisis and gang violence and demand that the U.S. and Canada stay out and allow domestic solution. That is one that I will be touching base with y'all on later on. Tammy says, "Wow, healthcare is a human right. Same with insulin," which is brings up a very true fact right there, meaning the high cost of something that should be just given to those who need it, which is true.
If they're going to make you pay for rainwater, they're going to make you pay for anything that you should get either low cost or free.
Yep. Talk about it. Nah, and this is the world under capitalism, y'all. Wake up. Massachusetts woman charged after reportedly using bees to attack sheriff's deputies and stop an eviction.
At least she stopped the eviction. That's all I can say.
I found this story to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Quite entertaining, to say the least. I don't know how others may feel about it, but for me, I found it to be, look, I'm always rooting for the underdog and the one that has to deal with this system, and anything to keep your home and your home safe is all right with me. So a Massachusetts woman is facing serious charges after using her beehives to attack sheriff's deputies as they enforced an eviction this past week. So according to Hampton County Sheriff's Office on Wednesday, Rory Susan Woods of Hadley pulled up to the scene of an ongoing eviction. She left her dog in the car and immediately went to manufactured beehives being towed by her SUV and, tried to unleash them. A deputy tried to stop her, but she smashed the lid and flipped a hive off the flatbed, making the bees more aggressive. She then put on a professional beekeeper suit to protect herself, and then she carried a tower of bees near the front door of the home in an attempt to stop the eviction. And so me personally, I commend her. What are your thoughts on that, Matt?
I don't know, but there is an interesting tidbit that's probably in that article that actually follows the story that they didn't actually publish. And that was That was that some of the one of the officers said that some of the officers on his squad that were responding to this incident were actually allergic to bees. And you know what she had to say? Good. I hope they're allergic.
I was gonna say ACAB, but just as good.
I'm not even kidding. That's exactly what she said. She said, "Good. I hope they're allergic."
Yes. Seriously, housing is a human right. Period.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, think of it this way: how would you feel if you were the person that had to be evicted and had to lose everything and had to rebuild your entire life from scratch? You know, that's the way I look at it. Like, you always end up in that situation if you're like lower class, like we are.
Yep.
Pretty much.
So, what else we got going on up in New England for us, Matt?
We have well, a 91-year-old civil rights leader and a co-organizer of desegregation protests in Boston in the 60s was stabbed in Boston the other night. Police are looking for the suspect. Here is a speech that she had to say for a press conference on the matter.
My dog is fine. My dog is fine. She's always hungry and ready to go for a walk. She does not have to be on lead either. That's another thing. You have animals who can be on command. I wish my kids were as well trained as my dog was. Sit, stay, heel. But again, there's nothing like the investment in healthcare and healthcare professionals and teachers and city workers and people who run the airports, because I fly. I went to high school that had aviation. Kim Kent, spend money on that. We're a major city and there's no schools, as I know of, in Massachusetts that teach flying. I'm going to fly at 14 in a Washington segregated black high school. And not only do I want to see women administrators, but I like to see them in front seat in the airplane.
Yes.
So look up there when we get on the next plane and see if a lady is flying.
We wanted to have a Dr. Sammy.
With Dr. Sammy, who spent 3 hours on
Come on.
making sure I can punch you and hug you and pat you and cook for you. I got this. Oh, it's so.
Well, I'd like to thank you and your family on behalf of Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center for having granted us the privilege to take care of you. And, you know, to having allowed me to perform your surgery and to have faith in us. It means a great deal, and it really is a privilege. And I think your energy, your strength, your resolve, your incredible wit and sense of humor are really contagious. And truly, I'd like to just share briefly before we get to the surgical details, share something that really touched me in taking care of Jean. And that is that I think most of us in a similar circumstance, considering what happened and the events that led you to come here, most of us would probably have been sad, upset, maybe scared, possibly resentful. We may experience anger at what happened, but not your family. And from the moment I met Jean and her family, your room is really a room of light. Like you would approach it, and as soon as noisy, and as soon as you would get in there, all the discussions, believe me, circled around service to the community. How can we better society? How can we empower our youth? And that sense of selflessness and dedication to the community is really remarkable and very special to see. And your family is truly a gift to the community in Boston. I feel very strongly that way. and the kindness and generosity you've showed to our staff, to our nurses, to the other doctors, to our students and residents is truly remarkable. Thank you. With respect to the surgical procedure, we completed the operation last week, and everything fortunately went very well. There were no untoward issues in the post-op period, and we expect you to make a very satisfactory recovery.
Hold on, why was she stabbed? What happened?
It supposedly was just a random stabbing, a random occurrence.
Oh,
She was walking with her dog out in the park late at night, and I guess what happened was someone attacked her with a knife, and her dog defended her life and fought the attacker off.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
To get you back to work.
That's why.
And the pool.
That's why when you first started the video, you heard her talk about her dog. That's why. Because her dog was sitting there acting as her savior this whole time.
Microsurgical techniques, and we've been very fortunate that I serve as the director of the orthoplastic and reconstructive microsurgery service here, and we've been very fortunate that the hospital has been supportive of this type of surgery, and we actually recently had delivery of one of the most advanced, technologically advanced operating microscopes on the market, with robotic capabilities, which we were able to use to take care of you, and we're thrilled that we could offer you that level of care. So thank you all for supporting us and for your faith in us.
There's the still photo of the suspect.
So we, as a family, we've received a whole bunch of requests as to how people can help Gene. We want some flowers, we want some food, all of that type. We like food, but Mark and I, in conjunction, of course, with Gene and with her guidance, have moved forward, and we've helped to create the Gene McGuire Health and Educational Fund in conjunction with the Boston Foundation. So we ask all of you that you hold your flowers and you translate that into money so that you can put it towards the foundation. And
just so they can help with the youth and be part of the foundation. And I think this is going to be a wonderful thing that for us to be able to help youth of America. And I think just especially in Boston, the kids need it, the dentists, the hospitals need it, and education as a whole, especially with health, will be very helpful.
Here in an international city, and with the program created in health, thousands of students who are now adults.
My brother, I know you got more stories for us to share. I'm sifting through some things that we gotta have as well. In the archive, we talk about so many different things all the time. And you, I know, have so many different things going on.
Well, right there, you just went by one.
Right
there
here?
Was one down from that. It was right there, that picture. Yeah, the Republican City Committee in my city posted that today about our drag queen event. So I called them out on it.
Word. So tell us a little bit about where it is that you reside, actually.
I live in Fall River, Massachusetts. Let me see if I can pull up the population real quick. So in Fall River, we have a population of around 100,000 people, and it is mostly white with low percentages of all the other types of races.
Of course.
We are famous for Battleship Cove, which is the largest museum of its kind, a rich Portuguese-American culture featuring authentic food, and the accused axe murderess, Lizzie Borden, from the 1600s. That is like Fall River history in a nutshell.
Sorry, in the group, Leslie was talking about the beekeeper and said, I'm dying over here about the bee woman superhero. Said, honestly, I might start some fundraising for her legal fees. Yo, seriously.
Hell yeah.
So Penn State is about to host the Proud Boys founder, and its students are protesting. Proud Boys founder right there, Gavin McInnes, is slated to speak at Penn State University later this month, which an event has sparked protest plans and a petition. Nice. I mean, nice that they're protesting.
Of course, he has to be paid to speak at this rally because he wouldn't come speak on his own accord.
So yeah, it will be on the 24th that it's slated for, and the allocation committee approved $7,522.43 in funds for the quote Stand Back and Stand By event. What? Including airfare for McInnes and Stein and a combined $6,500 in honorarium payments for the pair. Wow.
That's honestly not good.
So in total, it's over $11,000 that have been shelled out for this person, this racist person, to come speak at Penn State. Stand Back and Stand By event. Wow.
Isn't that what Trump said, like way back in his presidency?
Yep. They had Mayo Yiannopoulos, that racist talking head, right-wing talking head. Penn State had him before last year, and they dealt with similar uproar with that. So when will they learn?
That's a good question.
Right. Did you see the big event happening this weekend in Lancaster County with rich Christian nationalists? Many speakers, with some being General Michael Flynn, Roger Stone, Eric Trump, etc. It's a Reawaken America event. Wow. I'm not surprised.
They're literally trying to spark civil war as much as they possibly can. And they're trying to keep that out. They're trying to keep that outrage out in the open as much as they can, spreading it all across the land until people actually get outraged enough to try it.
Yep. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it. I mean, I can actually, but it doesn't make it any better. Oh man, let me go ahead and put on some of this piece about Haiti.
Now.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman in New York, joined by Democracy Now! Co-host Juan Gonzalez in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Hi, Juan. Crisis. A blockade of a key port in Port-au-Prince, the capital, by gangs has led to a critical shortage of fuel, food, and water for millions of people. Meanwhile, Haiti's fighting a new outbreak of cholera. On Monday, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for a, quote, armed action to reopen the port.
It's an absolutely nightmarish situation for the population of Haiti, especially Port-au-Prince. I believe that we need not only to strengthen the police, strengthening it with training, with equipment, with a number of other measures, but that in the present circumstances, we need an armed action to release the port and to allow for a humanitarian corridor to be established.
On Monday, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, pushed for the UN Security Council to authorize a non-UN international security mission to go to Haiti.
The second resolution we're working on would authorize a non-UN international security assistance mission to help improve the security situation and enable the flow of desperately needed humanitarian aid.
But in the streets of Haiti, many protesters have condemned the United States for pushing to intervene again in Haiti. Protesters are also demanding the resignation of Ariel Henry, who has ruled since the assassination of Jovenel Moïse on July 7, 2021. This is former Haitian senator and presidential candidate Moïse Jean-Charles.
Freedom. We are not in the states of the United States. We are not provinces of the United States. We are a country. We are a republic. They cannot give us orders. This time we do not need them. If Ariel Henry does not resign and the bank officials don't change their minds, we will make a revolution in the country.
We're joined now by Guerline Joseph. She is co-founder and executive director of Haitian Bridge Alliance, which advocates for humanitarian assistance to Haitians and other Black immigrants from the Caribbean and Africa. Today, she's joining us from Mexico City, where she's looking into the impacts of the Title 42 pandemic Trump-era policy that's been used to block at least 2 million migrants, including tens of thousands of Haitians, from applying for asylum at the U.S.-Mexico border. The Biden administration recently expanded Title 42 to begin expelling Venezuelan nationals. Guerline Joseph, welcome back to Democracy Now! Before we move to what's happening at the border, let's talk about what's happening in Haiti right now. You have the reports that chaos is engulfing the country, that it's become so total, the social fabric is so torn that the country is on the verge of collapse. And then you have the UN Secretary General calling for military action. Can you respond to the protests and the response?
Good morning, Amy. Thank you so much for having us. What we are seeing in Haiti right now is extremely painful as a Haitian woman, as a Haitian American woman, to see how the country has been dipping into this abyss. And we have been in communications with civil societies in Haiti to understand what is needed on the ground. And they are telling us they need a Haitian-led solution in order for the country to get out of where we are right now. As you mentioned, Amy, rampant violence, gang violence, political turmoil, assassination of the president, still no answer. And we are seeing people really protesting on the street for the right to sovereign solution to the issues that are happening. And they are saying no to an invasion, no to armed invasion from the international community, because every time there is the so-called help invasion that people go to Haiti result in chaos. You also mentioned the cholera pandemic that is in the rise right now, and that itself is a result of the UN being in Haiti after the earthquake. So we are seeing and hearing, and we are taking the time to understand what Haiti needs right now and how we move forward.
And Guerline Joseph, I wanted to ask you, we keep hearing about this gang violence that is rampant throughout Haiti, but there are some Haitians in the U.S. and as well as other radicals and socialists here in this country who say that all these gangs are not alike. That for instance, that the FRG9, the Revolutionary Forces of the G9 family, led by Jimmy Cherizet, are much more political, and they're the ones that are dealing with this blockade of the port, whereas other gangs like the GPEP are actually part of work with the Ariel Henry government and the police, and the United States seems to be more focused on FRG9. Could you talk about whether there are differences between these gangs and what's your sense of how the narrative is being shaped here in the U.S.?
Absolutely. One thing I want to clarify is the fact that this gang pandemic, this great gang phenomenon, is not native to Haiti. It's imported to Haiti. We are not used to this type of violence when it comes to gang. This is a new system that is being put in place, or that has been put in place to destabilize the country. I do not know who is supporting which gang. I do not know which activities are being supporting either by outside sources or people within the government. But what we we are seeing right now is that people are fearful. We are seeing entire neighborhood being displaced in Martissa, in Croix-des-Bouquets, in Pétionville, where we never had any violence before, that we are seeing all places in the country dealing with gang violence. And again, it is imperative that we understand the narrative that's being shared is that Haiti has never had to deal with this level of gang violence. This is new. This is backed by many different other outside sources, and we must understand that we have to come to a resolve where we rid the country of violence so people don't have to flee. Right now, we are seeing people fleeing by boat, either going to Puerto Rico, to the Bahamas, to Miami, and they are dying on the way here. We are seeing people fleeing from Haiti, making the way to the border in Mexico because they cannot be at home. We are seeing the political turmoil, the gang violence that are being financed or supported by whomever, that are creating a space where people cannot survive. That is why when we speak to civil societies in Haiti, we understand that in order for us to move forward, there must be sustainability, there must be proper school, there must be proper hospital, there must be, the agriculture needs to be revived in order for people to be able to be safe at home and not have to flee.
It's true. All right, for more of this story, you can go to Democracy Now's YouTube channel. Haitians protest economic crisis and gang violence, demand U.S. stay out and allow domestic solution. That is the name of the episode. And I want to, before we close out, one of our correspondents to the Leon Block sent us this in reference to the beekeeper story. This is the woman, the superhero as she's being dubbed, that unleashed the bees on people so that she could stay in her home. She was facing an eviction.
I think the way it was is she was actually helping someone else out that was being evicted, so she used the bees to stop the eviction right in the middle of the process. Yep.
That's even more awesome. Wow.
Yep. She's seen someone else was being evicted, so she stepped up.
She wasn't playing.
No, look at that. That's where they were all contained. She wasn't playing. She brought a whole arsenal.
Not today. Wow.
Around and find out.
That's a badass photo right there. I'm done. It said, you said that several people were allergic and told her if did she show remorse, and she said good. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just I don't care if they're allergic. Y'all shouldn't be evicting people.
Yo, I think that is an amazing way to close the show out. Yo, she is. Yo, you done this. Said they don't even think she knew the home dweller. Wow. That's even more awesome.
Literally. Oh, God, save peace.
Yo. Yo, yeah. Definitely a hero.
Yes, she is.
It proves that you don't need to know your neighbor.
She's not even just a hero. She's a selfless hero because she didn't even know who she was saving. She had no idea. She had no idea who she was saving. So she literally just went out of her way to save somebody she didn't even know. How many people are gonna go out and do that? You know.
You need more of that. You don't need to know who someone is. You just need to see someone in trouble and help them.
Exactly.
Just the most minute of actions can mean the world and make the most of a difference.
Each one teach one.
Yes. Each one teach one. And shout out to Rory. Seriously, you're dope as hell for that. And yo, shout out to you, Matt. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
No problem.
Of tea. We really appreciate as always. Yo, pinkies up, y'all. Is there any last kind of things like that you wanted to talk about or wrap up? Or anything that you want to talk about in the future?
There isn't anything I can think of at the moment.
Because you are a friend to the Leon Block and to T, and we will have you back on very soon.
Oh, of course. I appreciate being here.
And Leslie also says, thanks, Matt. You
No
are
problem,
very
Leslie.
to serve a purpose in this community. But as always, as we all know, we must be clear and understand what the fundamental problem is and understand that the root problem is the system. And the only way we will have change is if we bring leaders in and commit to the long haul, connecting through community. You are the media and you're what helps us grow. So just by donating or even simply sharing this stream helps a lot. If you want real truth, real raw news, as we all want, we've got to do it ourselves. And being informed is important. Without information, true and real information, we are left in the dark and with a weak spot. So we'll change that, y'all. Remember, here at the Leon Block, our mission is to change the way our community looks at media, to empower our present and future generations, everyone to take part in politics and become active leaders in their community, and to enrich everyone's lives, to combat racism, and to change the way we experience our lives. And as always, y'all, I love y'all. Make sure you meditate on your path, celebrate your being, liberate your spirit, and educate yourself. I'm John Tell, and we were joined by our guest, Matt, tonight. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you.